سيد محمود الأحمد أبي القاسم محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين وحجته على الخلائق أجمعين. أما بعد، يقول الله في كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا قيل لكم تفسحوا في المجالس فافسحوا. صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. When it comes to the azadari of Imam Hussain, you find that there's so many riwayat, so many hadiths on this subject that one majalis isn't enough for them, nor is one ashra enough for them. And for example, you find one riwayat that says, كل عين بقت على يوم القيامة إلا عين بقت على مصاب الحسين, that every eye will cry on the day of judgment except those eyes which cry for the Messiah of Imam al-Hussain. This is one riwayat. Another narration is the narration of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, which states, إِنَّا لِقَتْلِ حُسَيْنِ حَرَارَةٌ فِي قَلُوبِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ لَا تَبْرُدُ أَبَدًا. That when it comes to the killing of Imam al-Hussain, there's this fire in the hearts of the mu'mineen which will never cool down. And that's the subject of my majlis for today, is the reasons why this azadari of Imam al-Hussain remains alive. And before going into those reasons, you have to find where the word majlis and where it is mentioned in the Quran. When you look in the Quran, you find that the word majlis only comes up once in the Quran. And that ayat states, O you who believe, when you're told to make space in a majlis, make space. Now, when it comes to understanding any ayat of the Quran such as this one, it's important to understand the reasons why that ayat was revealed. And when you look at why this ayat was revealed, you find that it was revealed because an incident that took place in the majalis of Rasulullah. Rasulullah, he used to have a majlis in this area on the ledge whereby his grave today. That ledge was called the Suffa. And there would be people that sat around Rasulullah and they were called Ashab-i Suffa. Now when these Ashab-i Suffa would sit around Rasulullah, Rasulullah would hold what's called a majlis. Now one day Rasulullah was holding a majlis and an alim, a scholar of Islam in that time by the name of Qais bin Thabit walked in. Qais bin Thabit walks into the majlis and no one stood for him. As in today, you find that the etiquette in a majlis is when a Maulana or an alim walks in, people stand up out of respect. But in that majlis, no one stood up for Qais bin Thabit, and that hurt Rasulullah. And whatever hurts Rasulullah hurts Allah, so Allah revealed this ayat of the Quran which stated this. Now the question comes up is that how can you have a majlis if Imam al-Hussain wasn't killed yet? How can you have a majlis if Imam al-Hussain wasn't there yet? And the answer to that is that the majalis weren't originally for the remembrance of Imam al-Hussain, they were originally for the remembrance of Allah. But they later became for the remembrance of Imam al-Hussain for two reasons. Number one, because the remembrance of Imam al-Hussain in a way is the remembrance of Allah. That even when you say the name Hussain comes from the names of Allah. And this is one of the fazilat of the Ahlul Bayt, that their names come from the names of Allah. That Allah is Mahmud, so He made one of them Muhammad. Allah is Ala, so He made one of them Ali. Allah is Fatir as-samawati wal ard, so He made one of them Fatima. Allah is Mahsan, so one of them is Hassan. And Allah is Qadim al-Ahsan, the one with the best names, so He gave one of the best names to Hussain. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So this was the first reason this azadari, the majalises became for the remembrance of Imam al-Hussain. The second reason they became for the remembrance of Imam al-Hussain is because Imam al-Hussain is the one who saved the remembrance of Allah. That Imam al-Hussain saved the religion of Islam in the remembrance of Allah, and that's why Allah saved the majlis and the azadari and the remembrance of Imam al-Hussain. And before I start on the reason why this azadari remains alive, you find that the goal of this azadari is closeness to Allah and closeness to Imam al-Hussain. Because closeness to Imam al-Hussain is closeness to Allah. And as Mir Anis used to say about this subject, हम अज़ादार हैं हम फर्जंद नबी के ए अनीस, अज़ादार है हम फर्जंद नबी के ए अनीस। हम तो जन्नत में भी एक जाए अज़ा मांगते हैं, जिसको चाहो दे दो ये जन्नत या रब। हम तो शब्बीर के कदमों में जगह मांगते हैं।
सबका मालिक सबका रहबर, माल की जन्नत माल की कौसर, नारे।
So let's go through the reasons of why this Azadari remains alive, and I'll discuss 4 reasons. The first reason why this Azadari remains alive is because it was the wishes and the du'as of Janab Fatima Zahra salamullahi alayha. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. And because of that, Allah kept this Azadari alive. And don't be surprised that He would do this for Janab Fatima, because the reason why this world is going because of her. And this is mentioned in one Hadith al-Qudsi. And Hadith al-Qudsi is the words of Allah directly to the Prophet. And one Hadith al-Qudsi, what does Allah say? Allah says, لَوْلَاكَ لَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْأَفْلَاكَ. He says to the Prophet, oh Prophet, if I didn't create you, I would not have created this universe. وَلَوْلَا عَلِي لَمَا خَلَقْتُكَ. And if I didn't create Ali, I would not have created you. وَلَوْلَا فَاطِمَةَ لَمَا خَلَقْتُكُمَا. And if I didn't create Fatima, I wouldn't have created the both of you. One salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So this Azadari remains alive is because it was the wishes of Janab Fatima. And you find that when Imam Hussain was born, Rasulullah went to Sayyidah Fatima Zahra, and he went to her with tears rolling down his face. Now, Bibi Fatima, she asked Rasulullah, why are there tears rolling down your face? Are you not happy at the birth of your grandson? To which Rasulullah replied, how can anyone be happier than me? But Rasulullah said, the reason why I cry is because I know that my grandson will be killed by my ummah in the plains of Karbala. To which Janab Fatima asked, oh my father, will you be there when this happens? To which Rasulullah said no. Then she asked, will Ali be there when this happens? She said no. He said he won't be there. Then she asked, will Hassan be there? Rasulullah said no. Then she said, will I be there? And then Rasulullah said no, to which Janab Fatima said, who will cry for my Hussain? To which Rasulullah said, I will create an ummah where the elders cry for the elders of Hussain, where the women cry for the women of Hussain, and where the youth cry for the youth of Imam al-Hussain. One salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And I'm sorry I brought tears to your eyes with that narration, because most of the ulama say that when tears start rolling from your eyes, read Masa'ib, but it's not time for Masa'ib yet. So you find that this is one of the reasons. And Allama Zishan Haidar Jawadi in some lines of poetry mentions that the du'as of Fatima Zahra is why this Azadari remain alive. What did Allama Zishan Haidar Jawadi say? Allama Zishan Haidar Jawadi said, Salam un pe jo mayar the wafa ke liye. Salam un pe jo mayar the wafa ke liye. Jiye khuda ke liye, mar gaye khuda ke liye. Khuda ke deen ki zarurat Hussain o Ismail wo ibtida ke liye the, ye intiha ke liye. Hussain khak ko khake shafa bana ke gaye. Hussain khak ko khake shafa bana ke gaye. Zamana kis liye bechain hai dawa ke liye. Hussain खाक को खाकी शफा बना के गए. ज़माना किस लिए बेचैन है शफा के लिए, दवा के लिए. अज़ाए शे मिटा दे मजाल किसकी है, दुआएं मांगी है ज़हरा ने इस अज़ा के लिए. एक सलवात पढ़ ले अला मोहम्मद व आले मोहम्मद. So the first reason why this Azadari remains alive is because of the wishes of Fatima Zahra. The second reason why this Azadari remains alive is because of the efforts of those who were taken captive at Karbala, namely Bibi Zainab and Imam Zain al-Abidin salawatu wassalamu alayhi. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. You find that after Karbala, one of the ulama states that when Imam al-Hussain fell off his horse, Bibi Zainab and Imam Sajjad made sure that the message of Imam Hussain didn't hit the ground. And that way they were the protectors of the message of Imam Hussain. And I say especially Bibi Zainab standing outside this haram right here. Because Bibi, if she was not there, as I've said before, then these majalises won't be here. And as one of the lines in Urdu used to be, Gar gar baba hai aaj jo shabbir ki majlis, yo khutbah Zainab ka asar bol raha hai. Ek salawat padhne wala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And that Bibi Zainab, in saving the message of her brother, she was so unselfish that she didn't care if her own lineage didn't continue to make sure the lineage of her brother continued. That she gave away her sons on in Muhammad. After Karbala, you find that the lineage of Bibi Zainab didn't continue, but today in Ghaiba sits the one who's from the lineage of Imam Hussain, and it's because of her efforts. So this is the second reason why the Azadari of Imam Hussain continues. The third reason why this Azadari continues is because the khulus of Imam Hussain, the sincerity of Imam Hussain. And there are two things that show that whatever Imam Hussain did was only for Allah. The first was the fact that he took his women and his children. That if a man, his goals are besides Allah, then why would the man take his women and his children? And that's what one of the English writers used to ask. So this was the first reason that showed his goal is only for Allah. The second reason that shows that his goal was only for sajda Allah was that sajda that he gave in the final moments. When he gave that sajda, you find that nobody can give a sajda in the way Imam Hussain did. One salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. One salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Because reading salat and your comfort of your own home is something else. But reading salats in the plains of Karbala is something else. And as one of the shairs used to say about the salat which Imam Hussain read, Aaj haq ke liye jaan fida kare koi. Aaj haq ke liye jaan fida kare koi. Wafa bhi ju muti yu wafa kare koi. Namaz 1400 सालों से इंतजार में है हुसैन की तरह मुझको आज अदा करे कोई एक सलवात पढ़ने वाला मोहम्मद So you find that sajda which Imam Hussain gave showed that his goals were only for Allah. And this sajda is one of the things which holds the religion of Islam up today. Because as the famous line by Iqbal used to say, Islam ke daman mein iske siva kya hai, ek zarbe yadullahi aur ek sajda-e shabbiri. That what is there in the religion of Islam except the strike of Amir al-Mu'mineen and the sajda of Imam Hussain. So this became the third reason why this azadari continues. And the fourth reason why this azadari continues is because it was the sunnah of our ai that when Imam Zain al-Abidin used to cry on the streets, the reason he cried wasn't because he was weak-hearted or because he was emotional. The reason why he cried is because crying was the best way to show salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The reason why he cried is because crying was the best way to continue the message of his father. That when a child cries, salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So he continued crying. And when a child cries, nobody asks when a child laughs, nobody asks the child why he's laughing, but they'll ask him why he's crying. And for the same reason, Imam Zain al-Abidin cried. Because when he cried, people would ask him what happened in Karbala, and Imam saw that as the best opportunity to tell them what happened in Karbala. So this was the sunnah of our imma. And you find that Imam Zain al-Abidin continued the sunnah of Azadari. Because even in his wasiyat, Imam Muhammad al-Baqir salawatu wassalamu alayhi, Imam Zain al-Abidin told his son to make sure you continue this Azadari in Arafat for 10 years. So even in his wasiya, Imam Zain al-Abidin remembered this Azadari. And Imam Zain al-Abidin wasn't the only Imam to remember this Azadari. You find that Imam al-Riza used to do a lot for this Azadari. That this tradition of having 10 majlises in the beginning of Muharram, where did this start? This started with Imam al-Riza, because as he was passing through Khum, he was the first to recite these 10 majlises. Furthermore, you find that Imam Raza used to sit with the poets. He would sit with the poets and write noahs and marsiyas. One day, Dabil, a famous poet in that time, came to Imam Raza. When Dabil came, Dabil said that there is a grave, and he's talking about how the Ahlul Bayt were scattered through the land. He said there are graves in Medina and there is a grave in Kufa. He says that there is a grave in Kufa, and then he said there is a grave in Karbala. And after that, Imam Zain al-Abidin gave a suggestion to Dabil. He said to Dabil, oh Dabil, there will soon be a grave in Tus, referring to his own grave. And you find that all of our Imam remembered Imam Hussain, because as the narration stated, Inna li qatli Hussaini hararatun. The hararatun fi qulub al-mu'minin la tabrudu abada. That in the hearts of the mu'mineen is this fire. And it seems that it's as if this fire continues for Hazrat Abu Fazl Abbas. That every moment in his heart, he has a soft spot for Hazrat Abbas. You find that on the day of Ashura, when Hazrat Abbas went to Imam al-Hussain, he said to Imam al-Hussain, oh my master, oh my leader, oh my Imam, can I have permission to go to the Maqtal? To which Imam al-Hussain said, oh Abbas, Abbas, you're my alamdar. To which Hazrat Abu Fazl, he looks around and he says, Ya Abu Abdullah, which army am I the alamdar to? And after that, Bibi Sakina, she came. She comes and asks Hazrat Abbas, can you please bring me water? To which Hazrat Abbas goes to Imam al-Hussain, and Imam al-Hussain gives this permission. Hazrat Abbas, he was walking through this Karbala. He reaches the Furat. When he gets to the Furat, he picks up the water of the Furat. He looks into the water of the Furat and he throws it away. How can Hazrat Abbas drink water when Sakina is thirsty? How can he drink water when Imam al-Hussain is thirsty? After this, Hazrat Abu Fazl Abbas fills the water up and he's going back towards the tents. He's going towards the tent. And as he's going, they cut the left hand of Abu Fazl Abbas. And then they cut the right hand of Abu Fazl Abbas. But cutting those hands was nothing for Abbas. The arrow which hurt the most was that arrow which hit the mashkiza. The arrow which hit that water bag. You find after that, Hazrat Abu Fazl Abbas fell off his horse. Ayatollah Naini narrates that one day I recited the Masahib Hazrat Abu Fazl Abbas. And in my dreams, after reciting these Masahib, I saw Fatima Zahra. And she was saying to me that why didn't you recite the Masahib of my son? To which Ayatollah replied by saying, I recited the Masahib of your son. Did I say something wrong? She said you didn't say something wrong. But whenever you recite the Masahib of Abu Fazl, mention that when someone falls off his horse, they have their hands in front of him. But when my Abu Fazl fell, they hit the ground. You find that Imam al-Hussain, he comes to Hazrat Abbas, and Hazrat Abbas, he puts his hand in his lap, and then Hazrat Abbas removes his hand to the ground. Imam does it again, Hazrat Abbas removes his hand to the ground. Imam puts it on his lap again, Hazrat Abbas removes it to the ground. To which Imam al-Hussain asks, Ya Abu Fazl, why are you moving your hand? To which Hazrat Abbas replied by saying, Ya Abu Abdullah, where will your head be on the day of Ashura? It's as if every Imam remembered Abu Abdullah when the poison was going through the bodies of Imam al-Riza. Imam al-Riza put me on the ground. Oh Imam al-Riza, the poison is through your body. He said the reason why I want to be on the ground is so I can remember my grandfather Abu Abdullah. When Imam Zain al-Abidin was dying, Imam al-Baqir came and put his hand on the lap of sat on the chest of Imam al-Hussain. To which Imam al-Hussain, Imam Zain al-Abidin started crying. Imam Zain al-Abidin said, Imam al-Baqir said, oh my father, why do you cry? To which Imam Zain al-Abidin said, oh my son Baqir, you were sitting on my chest when I'm dying. Do you know who was sitting on the chest of my father. It was Shemar who was sitting on the chest of my father. Ala lanatullah lil qawm al-zalimin. Imam Hussain.